Hello and welcome back to the Peak Forest Canal again. We pick up where we left off in part 1 at Mills Marina. If you missed it so far, I got the bugs while at the basin. I had a whaley of the time in the bridge. It became like a furnace once I reached the Vale. While I knew milling around here too long wouldn't be a wise idea, so why don't we set off again, eh? As we cross this bridge beneath the A6015, there is a bonus treat for you just on the other side. Towering straight behind me here is the majestic structure of Britain's famous Swizzels confectionery manufacturer, who have been producing their sweet, sherbety smells by the bank of the Peak Forest Canal since 1940. If you struggle to remember what they're responsible for, sherbet double dip, love hearts, and that most reviled of sweets, Parma violets. How dare you? I think they're perfectly good little sweeties personally. See, I'm going to have one. In fact, I'll have another. Lovely. Unlike the larger firms based in York, one of which we bypassed on a previous video on my Dave's Deadline series, this company did not make as much use of the passing railway or canal facilities, with everything these days seeming to be done by lorry. Hoping you can sup your sweeties while we're strolling, I think it's time we started on our way along the bank again. Although just before we do, I think I ought to take a savour of the lovely smell of fresh sherbet. The sight of a new set of flats straight across the water might indicate that others are after a slice of the life as well as that distinct sherbety odour emanating through their kitchen windows. Another interesting little thing you might not notice about this canal as we depart New Mills, that at this point it is actually sandwiched between 3 railway lines. We have the 2 Midland railway routes which lie on our right on opposite sides of the Goyt Valley, but one of them crosses under us shortly, while on the left, up in the tree somewhere, is the Buxton to Stockport stopping line, which we'll be walking alongside again pretty soon. Just stop a moment and look at this down on the towpath next to me. That is actually the root of a tree and not some circular metal shape from the canal past. Don't know what has happened to that gate post though. Passing another plank rack as I creep up on where more barges are parked. Taking into account I'm filming at the end of August here. It won't be that long now for these slats of wood sitting dormant in this rack all summer will be needed yet again. A little further around the corner we come across a canal breather. Plus a cute little tree over that side. It's now at this point where we have to cross the border. We say goodbye to Derbyshire now as we approach this next bridge and enter Cheshire, closely bypassing the small town of Disley. I might have to break it to you at this point that when I used the word bypassing just now, I meant that somewhat loosely, because as we creep round the corner here, we find that the path forward is closed, so we're going to have to head momentarily back up to the road. Oops. I can at least see that repairs are underway to some degree. Sorry I couldn't be more organised. That embarrassing little moment out of the way, we're back to the canal. We resume our explore at Red House Lane Bridge, which is just behind me, behind that unwelcoming yellow barrier. We walk on by another row of bright plush cottages, but not too many a barge to go with them. Just the one today. And like I said, we are pretty close to the railway at the moment. You might have just heard the train. Unlike that load of ugly main road concrete crossovers we saw too many of on the last video, there is a relatively contrasting variety of bridges this time. And if I can just break away a moment from the lovely bright white cottage as we come around this corner, we're about to meet the first example. We're coming up on it right now. Oh, plus someone's got their own little summer house. This is the Higgins Clough Swing Bridge. A very similar design to the one you saw at Furness Vale. And like that, is used for connecting towpaths and maybe local farms to the main road. Take in a quick view from it while they're around. Our first moving barge of the day comes past the blessers right at this minute. And to his horror, finds the gate not already open. Just can't get the stuff nowadays, can you? As we come around the corner, leaving that little scene behind, we cross over another relief filter. Coming underneath us, just about where we are now, is the middle of those three railways I mentioned earlier. This one being the Midland Railways connection from New Mills to Hazelgrove and Stockport, where it meets with that line from Buxton. Not sure whether you can hear a train engine over a barge engine, but the railway actually crosses below the edge of Disley via a 2-mile tunnel at this point. I don't hear any hooters sounding. Round a long, elegant, sweeping curve, one of many that these canals seems to specialise in, and we eventually come to the Wood End Lifting Bridge. This one is also one of a set of two that we'll encounter on this trip between Disley and Marple. We've also got another bit of tarmac at this point, but at least not another closure. This much more sociably surfaced stretch of towpath we're currently treading is actually a continuation of Hagbank Lane, the road which came over the lifting bridge behind us. It only comes to a dead end though, connecting private vehicles into the farm just ahead, round the corner. The lane comes to an end and peels off towards its farm. We come to Bridge 23 as a boat comes to us. Love the name. Can't repeat the song due to copyright reasons though. This is another of those beautiful old stone entries with the as standard cobbles underfoot. And some surprisingly big iron stables too. At least we know this path's not in any danger of collapsing anytime soon. At this point we cross over the Small Strines Aqueduct, identified by the intruding wall on our right, taking this gentle curve in at us and back out again. Up above, I find myself being passed behind once again. Coming up on Turfley Lift Bridge, the second of the set of two today, we've actually got a bonus for you, because this one is actually currently lifted awaiting a boat. And believe it, the lucky barge is just crossing by as we speak. Carpe Diem, who we've just overtaken yet again. Enjoy the sight of it being lowered again. It comes down faster than a lock, I'll tell you that much. For some reason I'm reminded of the end credit from Camberwick Green, watching that woman winding over there. As Carpe Diem takes off on her merry way to wherever her cruise is heading, I'll let you in on an interesting little fact. One of the buildings up the lane there is actually a swimming pool shop. Of all the sorts of things to find next to a countryside canal. After another couple of gentle curves through the country, plus another plank rack to go with it along the way, plus a lovely pretty house hiding behind this strange single railing. We reached bridge number 21 here at Hollingwood Lane. And I'm afraid we're going to have to duck a bit for this one. Never a bad idea with that kind of floor. Coming up on the next set of moorings, and it seems someone's got a seat out ready for me. Given the uninvited face staring out through the window at me just then, I decided to give that one a miss though. This couple appear friendly. Well, the male half just waved to me anyway, so I'll take that as friendly. Behind it is another unfriendly sight, alright. One of these horrible, squimpy little footbridges that I saw more than I wanted to on the last segment between Bugsworth and New Mills. I'm 5'10", and I only managed just to clear that last bit by a few inches. Round another nice graceful bend, curving 90 degrees north. We have a nice view of Strines Road right below, along with its bungalows. Nothing like a little trip along the edge, eh? After a little longer in the sun, we soon come up on bridge number 19. If you're new to the world of canals, a switch bridge is a bridge that enables a donkey or a horse back in the early era to cross over the canal without having to use a tunnel. It also comes complete with its own little library as well. Not many page turners here today though. Saying that, you might not need one for now, because a bumble further along this bumpy rocky path is the big climax to today's chapter. The immense waterway interchange of Marple Marina. As we watch the queues for the gate build at this canal metropolis, which alongside space for over 50 barges, is also home to a canal and trust office and a large social club, We also encounter the junction with another major waterway forming part of the Cheshire Ring. The Macclesfield Canal also begins its journey beneath the switch bridge, taking barge owners on a beautiful snaking 26-mile journey across the North Cheshire countryside. And believe me, a few also managed to come back. You're probably wondering if we were ever going to get any locks on this journey. Well, it's time for the hungry of you to finally see your needs satisfied. We've got straight behind me here is a whopping 16 of them. Top Lock, also known as Lock 16, is accompanied by the lockhouse straight behind it, owned by the Jinks family, a boat operator of the day between 1840 and 1935. The view from the end of Lock 16 looking downwards towards the town is pretty impressive, even though you can only see one further lock as the flight curves away to the right. Also quite catching is a characteristic of the next 3 locks to follow. Locks 15, 14 and 13 each had their own separate pound of stored water over on the right. This was in case any times things might run a bit dry beneath the old rudder. Nowadays they appear to act as a generous garden pond for the cottage behind each one. This lot don't seem to be struggling for water, they might need to hammer the gate though. Hang on. With that helping hand, thankfully seeing them on the way, here's a quick peek at the water storage at Lock 14. And unlucky for some, but not those needing a lot of water underneath them right now, the one by Lock 13. Just going to break away from the canal for a moment and come around this corner. Lock number 17 here, which is obviously not a real one but a scale model, is set at this corner of a road on the outskirts of Marple town centre, in fitting tribute to Gordon Mills, a loyal publisher and photographer in the town whose work is an everlasting contribution. Turning to the canal again, as another one crawls past without trying to get noticed and finds that he's got traffic coming the other way.
Lovely.
And you're gonna love this. We have another tunnel. Are you ready? What I've just come charging through like a nutter is one of 3 tunnels underneath Posset Bridge, which carries the main road into Marple town centre. That, of course, has been down to just 2 for the last several decades. As the third arch, over in the corner there, was originally a branch of the local lime kilns, long since closed and filled in. Now, lock number 12, which we're nicely closing in on now, is still commonly known as the Black Wharf. Thanks to the coal wharf that originally stood on the banks opposite, a large cottage, you can just see the roof of behind the hedge there, actually dates back from the very early 1800s, at the time of the canal's construction. If you're wondering why Lock 11 sounds so noisy, a barge has just passed right through it. And there's the culprit. Dropping down between locks 9 and 10 now. And this is yet a further little treasure. The smallest bit of disused railway I've ever come across. A former narrow gauge line crossed the lock right here, and you can still see a couple of 1.5 foot long grooves hiding in the grass and weeds straight in front of you, this side of the lock, if you look very closely. Heading down this last slope for the day lands us right by lock number 9. Which I see someone's nicely waiting for already. And this magnificent relic standing grandly on the opposite side of the water. Samuel Oldknow's warehouse, which has stood here since 1801, is a fitting memorial to the creator of this magnificent flight of locks, and today enjoys Grade 2 listed status. And as we watch these guys grapple with the latest gate in front, it is actually where we also have to pull in for the night. So just leaves me to say thanks for joining me once more, and listen, if you haven't had your fill of the Peak Forest Canal yet, like and subscribe, and it won't be long till I see you all again. Ciao. Well, as that's the end of that rubbish for another day, I think I'll take another Palmer Violet. Maybe not. I forgot that I finished them all earlier. Well, there's always that Yorkie bar. No, sorry Ronnie, that's mine.